Hi, welcome. I'm Mary and I hook books. And I made so many Christmas items in November during my Novella November Make Ahead dash. But you know what I forgot? People I actually like. So, I am going to be crocheting some more Christmas presents. Mostly, I think I'm going to do Granny Square stockings this year. So, come make my last minute Christmas gifts and read with me. I'm learning about myself, and this week I have learned I do not like the English countryside. I do not like murder mysteries that take place in an old manor in the English countryside and all the tropes that they tend to have. I DNF'd How to Solve Your Own Murder, and this was a Goodreads Choice Awards nominee, and I see why other people like it, but I could not get into it. It was a really cool premise, but just everything that was happening just bored me. And then I picked up The Christmas Guest, thinking, I'm gonna get into the spirit. And I can see again why people who like that kind of thing would really like this. We're in an old manor. An American student is invited to her friend, not friend, in England's family home in the English countryside for Christmas, and murder and mayhem ensue. And it's only like 96 pages. And I was like, is it over yet? Is it over yet? I'm bored. Is it over yet? So 1.5 stars for me. Not my favorite. But I think it's just those tropes. I really don't like that trope set. The Teacher by Freida McFadden. This is another one that was nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards this year, and I see why. Often I don't understand the Goodreads Choice Awards, but this was so good. And again, Freida is not literature, but she's like a really good, usually I would say her books are like B movies, but in this case it was like a Lifetime movie, like one step above a B movie, like a really good Lifetime movie. And side tangent, if you've never seen Unreal from the Lifetime Network, oh my gosh, such a good show about what goes on behind the scenes at a reality show. So Lifetime hits it out of the park once in a while, and I feel like that is The Teacher by Freida McFadden. There's a couple married teachers, and the woman in the relationship is not happy, and her husband seems to be utterly perfect. And he is the most popular English teacher in school, and she is the least popular math teacher in school. And they're both a little sketchy and gray, but then you find out her perfect husband, who never gets mad and never does anything wrong, is maybe stepping out with a student. And we also get the student's perspective, and she was accused of having an affair with a teacher last year, and it completely ruined her life. It didn't actually happen, but enough people saw maybe that it ended up getting the teacher fired, and he was a really popular teacher, so now everybody hates her. So Mr. Perfect, the most attractive, awesome teacher in the entire school, comes up and starts giving her attention. And sex, shoes, murder, good stuff. It was a really great thriller, and I could see how people wouldn't want to engage in content like this, but I feel like it was actually handled pretty well. It wasn't overly scandalized, and you could really see how it's easy to take someone in a delicate situation and manipulate them. And if it happened to you, maybe it's happened to other people, and maybe we're not all alone in the world. So I think this was actually handled fairly well, and I gave it 5 stars. I loved this. Hush reminds me so much of The Handmaid's Tale, but without the religious sex stuff. So if that's kind of your jam, we are in a post-climate change, post-pandemic UK. There's a new illness that only affects neonates, and first it's 1 in 10 are stillborn, then 1 in 8, 1 in 6, 1 in 5, now it's almost 1 in 2, and teenagers who may or may not be pregnant just keep disappearing, and everyone has just signed up to wear these smartwatches all the time so that the government knows exactly where you're going and what you're doing. They've gotten rid of cash, so they know exactly what you're spending your money on all the time. And our main character, oopsie doodle, she got pregnant, and it starts with her and her friend trying to steal a pregnancy test because they're afraid of what would happen if they get caught finding and trying to buy a pregnancy test, because again, girls are disappearing. And she tries to deal with it on her own for a while. Eventually her mother finds out, and I think The Handmaid's Tale was a little bit more about the world. This is more about how the world affects women, and specifically this intergenerational relationship between our main character, her mom, and then eventually they bring in her mom, so the main character's grandma. And it seems like when things start going bad for the world, the first thing to go are always women's rights. And the grandma was I don't want to say freedom fighter, but she was definitely like a feminist, wrote a bunch of books, and very on the edge. And our mom is a nurse who just wants to be there for her daughter, but they all end up needing each other. So this was a really good, I think it's marketed as YA. A lot of what I've read this month is technically YA, but it's dark and it's deep. I don't know if I would give this to a younger person without like some trigger warnings and counseling. But I think pretty much everything with a young protagonist is marketed as YA, even though I'm like, Stephen King does a lot of young protagonists. You don't see us saying he writes YA. Anyway, The Hush, very dark, very freakishly realistic and scary, but very, very good.
We're switching to our holiday callers.
Santa Grit is a novella. I believe it's the 4.5 in the Time Police series. And I'm sorry, I just got home and my kitties are so energetic and excited. And I think to really appreciate this, you would have to have read several of the books already, because this is very much about the characters and their growth, who people think they are versus who they are, and what they've gone through is really reflected on. So I think you would probably have to read the Time Police series, which I would recommend. It is a really fun series. It's very comedic, a lot of high action. I really enjoy Jodi Taylor's work in general. And this is a little orphan at Christmas, and Grit is one of the Time Police. He gets suckered in to playing Santa, and things go from there. And of course there's time warpy, policey, sci-fi, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff. But my favorite part is the characters. This is a really great series for characters. So this is way up there in my favorite Christmas reads. Finlay Donovan Rolls the Dice is the fourth book in the Finlay Donovan series. And in Finlay, Donovan is killing it. She is in a Panera Bread talking with her agent about how she's going to kill off a character. And someone thinks that she's being serious, and they try to hire her as an assassin, and wackiness ensues. And that was a little bit more my speed for a cozy mystery. By the fourth book, I honestly had forgotten so much from the third book. They'd make a reference and I'd have to like, wait, who is what? Like it kind of started to come back to me, but it had just been a long time. I kind of wish I'd waited to get into the series so I could binge the first four. I think you could stop after the first one, but then the second, third, and fourth are kind of one big story arc. So I do love these characters. I find the representation of the single divorced mom to be very relatable. I personally am not a mom except for my fur babies, but I've just known so many people in my life and I see these exact things going on. And people aren't necessarily bad or malicious, they're just selfish, emotionally immature, etc. And one small gripe, I have worked in a spa and they get a couples massage, but there's only one therapist. And I'm like, how is that supposed to even work? So by the fourth book, we are suspending disbelief a lot more. There are a couple little, like, wait, that would not happen, beyond the normal suspension of disbelief. So, probably my least favorite. It did really wrap up this story arc very well, which I appreciated, but there was so much going on in this book that it was actually a little bit exhausting. I still will probably pick up the next one, but my least favorite of the series so far. Thank you for joining me on my last minute Christmas dash to finish the last of the Christmas presents that I completely forgot about when I was making all of those little ones back in November. If you liked this, please like, subscribe, share, comment, do the YouTubey things. If you'd like to contribute financially to the Yarn and Fancy Feast Fund, that's Munster. That's why you're wiggling, is Munster is also encouraging you to contribute to the Fancy Feast Fund. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account, and that'll be in the description below, along with the patterns that I used and a wrap-up of the books that I read in this vlog. And I know holidays are hard. We can hang in there together. The world is a scary place right now. But lean into what feeds your soul. Make sure you take care of yourself. In a world of hustle culture, rest is a radical act. Make sure you're eating well, drinking your water, sleep, get some exercise if you can. And remember, keep your shoulders back, your head up, and breathe.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!